Welcome back to Queen's Mindset. If this is your first time joining us, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are super excited to have you here for season 3. Oh my gosh, listen, guys, we are enjoying this season and I hope you are too as well. And guess what? We have yet again another powerful lady here in the studio to share her story with us. I know you can't wait. I cannot wait either. But before we go any further, I want you to just hit that subscribe button just right below. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel so that you can be kept abreast of all of our videos as soon as they come out. So, okay, let's just head right into it. So here in the studio, we have Chanteau, and I hope I pronounced it correctly. We have Chanteau with us, and she has a phenomenal story. Welcome, Chanteau. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. And it's actually Chantal, but I'm not going to beat you up too much. But I am doing, I am doing very, very well. Trying to get through the day like everyone else.
I know how that goes. I know how that goes. So tell us a little bit about who Chantal is and what she does.
Okay, Chanteau is a bold, spontaneous person. Chanteau is very random, but at the same time loves to disappear in her shell and just ignore the world for a little bit so that I can recoup, spend time with God and just listen to the ocean. So I love nature. You know, any chance that I get, I find that if I could disappear in nature, I would. I'm at peace there. I am so many things. So I'm currently studying to be a psychologist. I work as a corporate insurance advisor. I'm also very much involved in church. So I hold the position of a member of the prophetic ministry and social media ministry. And then outside of that, I also operate a nonprofit that is geared towards reaching people who are broken to inspire hope in their lives. And so because of that, you'll find that I'm usually called to do a lot of speaking engagements on, you know, self-development, walking in purpose and all of that stuff. So a lot.
Yeah, let's I'm like, wow. I always have to ask everybody this question: where do you find the time?
I don't know myself, but it works.
Oh, wow.
It works.
Yes, when you're called to it, God always give us the grace so that we get the job done. So, wow. So that's it, guys. You just heard what Chantaeu does, you know, everything that she does. And I'm sure there's still a little bit more that she does. That she has like, what? How do you do all that? But guess what? She has a powerful story to share. So I know you have been through some things, and I know like all of us women, we all have a story to tell. But your story is a very powerful story, and I want you to share a little bit about your story here today with us. And let's start at the beginning. Let's unpack that from the beginning so that everybody can just follow. Tell us where it started.
Well, it started where it shouldn't have been, but it happened in the first place. And I'm going to put it in a small summary, but impactful same way.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I had a dream. That sounds like, who said that? I had a dream. But anyways, in 2017, in January part of it, I had a dream that I was going to be pregnant with twins.
Wow.
But in the dream, I had lost them. And by the way, guys, I've been baptized since 2009. So I have a track record of being a Christian for over 12, 13 years.
Wow.
And so in the dream, I was pulling out the twins and calling my boyfriend at the time to tell him that, you know, we lost the twins. But I was so excited, which was kind of weird, right? Who calls to share that news and excitement?
Yeah.
But stay with me. 3 months after that, I had another dream that I was overseas in my grandmother's bathroom looking at a digital test which says pregnant.
Wow.
The details of it, 3 months after. And this is just a dream. So the following year, temptations got a hold of me, my partner at the time. And we started to have sex. And boom, in November, as the dream said, overseas in my grandmother's bathroom, I was sitting there looking at a digital pregnancy test that said pregnant. Came back to Jamaica, found out that I was pregnant with twins. The doctor was like, 2 heartbeats, 7 weeks.
Wow.
7 weeks. Yeah. And so everybody was excited. I was excited. His parents were excited. They really wanted a grandchild at this point. And, you know, the thought about, oh, but you're a Christian kind of was not plaguing anybody's mind at that moment. But anyways, later down, December 8th, I can remember, December 8th, 2017, the doctor was like, we went to do a checkup and there were no more heartbeats. None. No, like we couldn't even pick up the other twin because apparently one of them died before the other one. And my doctor was like, we need to do a surgery like right now, because apparently my body was still progressing as if I was still pregnant, but my womb was saying otherwise.
Wow.
Right? And so we did a surgery. You know how that goes. Trying to keep it sensitive but real at the same time for persons watching. Because I know that there are persons who go through this, it's just that they don't talk about it. You know, and I'm on a mission to break that silence. Not because you're a Christian does not mean that you don't go through real life things. You know, it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
And so when it happened, I spent 4 months taking care of everybody else, making sure everybody's good, because at this point, everybody would have been devastated. Taking care of everybody else, but forgetting about myself. And I would have paid the price for it, because after a while, the reality hit that, you know, Shan, you've just lost 2 babies. And at that point, everything went downhill for me. What I thought about God, I started to cuss him and tell him he didn't make me properly. I started to feel worthless. I started to feel every nasty word that you can think about, because my body was just not functioning how it was supposed to. But in that journey, I learned that it's important that you listen and discern how God is talking to you in every season.
That's right.
And never take it for granted, because I took those dreams for granted. I didn't think they were for me. I disregarded them. And then it happened. And so, in a nutshell, that is the story.
Wow. Okay.
And it took me 4 years to heal properly and deliver from that. Even though I was sharing it and engaging, it took me 4 years to bounce back.
Wow. Okay. Let's go back a bit. So, how many months were your children before they had died? Because you said you found out when you were 7 weeks. But
about 2 months.
Oh, so it was only 2 months. It was still pretty young. Okay. And how did your church family treat you? Because I know you said that his family was excited because they were happy, hey, we're gonna have some grandbabies. But how was the treatment coming from your church?
My church family didn't know until like in recent times, in 2019. That's when I started to share. That's when I started to talk about it. And God was like, it's time to share. And so I had to go through a processing, separate and apart from realizing what had happened to my body, and pretty much hating the world, because I started to blame everybody for what had happened. So that was one process. And then God is like, it's time to talk about it. That's another process. Coming out of that shell. And it was around the same time I started the nonprofit that I spoke about in 2019. And I ended up on CVM, which is a television network here in Jamaica, sharing about that story. And even though I was sharing about it, there were parts of myself that still needed healing. The parts of myself that felt like I was not qualified, I was not good enough. The parts of myself that believed that I was too skinny or, basic. And so God had to deal with those pieces of me, and I had to bare myself naked pretty much to allow him to really, truly fill those parts of me with love, so that I could find back the love that I had lost through that experience. Because it got so bad to the point where I felt like I was literally considering cutting out my tubes. What that means is that you prevent yourself from having a child forever.
Yeah.
And God was like, no, 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 no. No. And so my breakthrough, my deliverance, my healing was signed and sealed just last year on my birthday. How did I know? Because this time, for the first time, when I looked in the mirror on that day, I don't know why that day, but it was the day I felt liberated. It was the day I felt like I could literally wear a bikini to the beach, not because I'm trying to show off, because usually I have on a big shirt or pants. But this time I could wear a bikini to the beach and saw myself for the beautiful piece of art that God has created. And something in me just felt complete.
Wow.
Felt like there was a covering that was now placed on me, an armor that was placed around me that I don't know, I just never seen myself in that light, and I just felt love again. And I am the godmother for 2 kids, 2 babies, and I'm just now more than ever excited for love and life and sharing it with people. And the love that I have for kids and older people has been restored to such a magnitude that I'm just like, I'm ready. I'm like, okay, God, what's up? You know? So,
Wow. So that was God in that moment, just restoring your dignity.
oh, yes.
So tell me now, so how was the relationship then with your significant other at that time? Was he also?
Oh, that was falling apart. So I was losing the babies. I lost the babies, and that relationship was also falling apart. Like it was at the edge of its duration, because that fell apart completely.
Wow.
Which is another reason why everything went downhill, because I lost that relationship. I lost the kids. And I started to blame everybody for what I was going through, but I wasn't talking about it. So like even I started to church hop because I started to blame the people at my church for not asking me how I am, but really and truly I didn't tell them what was wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but since they've known, they have embraced me, and that's what I love about my church. To the point where I got the opportunity to share my experience on the altar.
That's good.
And I was embraced, I was loved. Like they want me to talk about it more because this happened, you know, and that's what I love about my church. They are ordered, yes, speaking tongues and all of that, but they truly embody what it means to come as you are. And let's just show you the way. And I love that about my church.
That's really good. That is good that you have that solid foundation. So what support did you have? Because I understand you said just now the church didn't know, so they couldn't really give the support that you would have needed in that moment. But your family had known. So what support did you gain from your family while going through that situation?
Because I spent most of my life taking care of everyone else, the fact that I was helping them to recover from that loss as well, they thought I was good because I pretty much gave off the position or sense that I was all good because I'm helping everybody else to be better. So that means that she was good. And so there was none. And that's why it sounds cliche, but I do give credit to God because I can recall a time where I had left work and this anger started to boil up inside me about everything. And I was so angry, so angry that I could drive the car into somewhere.
Wow.
And in that moment, I just started to burst out in tears, not even like subtle crying, like bawl, cry. And God was like, let it out. And I had to stop the car. And it so happened that where I stopped the car is beside a lake setting, and I love nature. So I spent a good hour and a half bawling, cussing, crying until there was like, it's a type of crying where after you're finished, you feel so drained, like there's nothing left. And it's just like, okay, God, just whatever.
Yeah.
And it was in that moment that God was able to just, I don't know, love on me And it's the only thing that makes sense to me because of how I felt coming out of that experience, from one state to the next, to feeling just embraced, you know. And from then I started to, I guess, well, God started to prompt me to work on my relationship with him, because that's what saved me. Every time I felt like I was going to the deep end, there was no human being that could give me what God gave me. And when I started to talk about my experience is when others started to share, oh, you know, I went through this. And I'm like, why are y'all not talking about it? Women out here struggling, probably committing suicide, because it's not an easy thing to deal with. So, yeah.
So did you ever, were you ever aware in terms of where did you learn how to deflect? Because you said you were helping everyone else without helping yourself. So what I heard from that was that you were deflecting your feelings to kind of help. So you try to, like, no, let me just compartmentalize what I'm feeling right now so that I can help them, as a way to help me forget about what is really happening. So where did you learn that?
I guess from a tender age, because growing up was very scary. The household that I grew up in, it was filled with a lot of, we don't talk about emotions. My parents used to fight a lot, and I had to be the bigger person because I have two sisters, right? And so I had to be the adults for the adults at a very tender age. And I had to, well, I learned to keep stuff in.
Yeah.
How I started to express myself, it was third form in high school. A teacher, I guess God sent her, and she was like, you know, it's okay to talk about it. Even if you don't talk about it to me, just let it out. And I think at the same time too, God was calling me, because I didn't grow up in a Christian household or around Christian influences. It was at a time in my life where somehow I was convinced that the reason why my parents fight is because it was my fault. And so I wanted out.
Yeah.
Suicidal thoughts. But then I can recall one evening I was in country and I was walking on the road while I was trying to plan how next I'm going to kill myself.
Wow.
And here the Holy Spirit said, just like I'm talking to you now, go get baptized. That's it. Soft, subtle, go get baptized. And that thought was there, and I was like, no, I'm really going crazy, because now I'm hearing other voices telling me to go get baptized. And about 6 months after that, in February 15, 2009, I did it. And I feel like I had to do it. Like, I felt like my life depended on it. And when I accepted that call, because I had to acknowledge what I was hearing with my mouth and accept Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and then the baptism came. And then what happened after that was that it's like clockwork. My body started to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning wanting to read the Bible. It's like waking up wanting to use the bathroom and you just go. I started to wake up wanting to read the Bible. So I bought myself a Bible and I just started to read, and things just started to change for me. My perspectives on everything.
Wow. Wow. And when it is time, it is time. It is
time. Because my church family, like the community that I have now at church, came into play just in 2020. And I've been baptized from 2009.
Wow. Wow. So, but I am glad though that you got to break down where that deflecting came from, because I find that a lot of persons, and we do it so often without recognizing, we pick up things based on our environment, and like how you said, nobody taught you how to do it, but you felt that you had to because of the circumstances at the time. And then what we don't recognize is that we take on that role and it follows us through our adulthood until we recognize this is a problem.
Oh yeah.
So it's really not, some people may call it ironic that you are actually now studying psychology, but this, get to study these levels of behavior because these are patterns and different things that no, you need to So now you can be able
I did do counseling. So on top of getting help from church, I also did counseling, finding therapists to talk about it. So it was like God at work and using the people that He's placed there to help me get through this. You know, can't do it on your own.
Yeah. So tell me about some of the work that you had to do in order to be vulnerable, because I know most times it's most people, we're like, there's a block and we're like, nope, I'm not letting you in. Like how you explained just now, your teacher said, you know, even if you don't tell me, just tell someone, but talk about it. How were you able not to get over that hurdle?
Again, oh God. Because, for example, there was a part in my journey where that breakup that I told you about, shortly after our breakup, the young man went and proposed to somebody else.
Wow.
And I was, you can't imagine, you know? And one night, I was getting ready to go to my bed. But then God was like, no, let's worship. So God was like, I need to talk to you. That feeling like you need to do something and it takes everything in you to ignore that feeling. But then some of us do it anyways. And so God was calling me to worship. And then in starting to sing, the Holy Spirit was like, unblock him and pray for him and his then fiance. And I'm like, me? No, no. No, thank you. To the point where I started to cry. I was like, God, you cannot ask me to do this. What? But there was this feeling in me. It's like an itch that you have to scratch. It's like you want to use the bathroom and you can't hold it no more. And I had to. So I unblocked him. And once I unblocked him, the prayer just started.
Wow.
And in that moment, God said to me, if you don't learn how to forgive people how I've asked you to forgive, or if you don't learn how to love people how I've been showing you love, how else are they gonna get to know me? And it has been experiences like those that has led me to become this person who is now talking, because God was like, it's time to share. And out of that experience, a week after, a church reached out to me and asked if I could speak on forgiveness. And I was like, God, you're funny. Because how would they have known that just the other day in my home by myself, I did this? And I'm pretty sure he didn't share that voice note with anybody. But the church asked me to talk about forgiveness, and it's experiences like those where God would have dragged me through it because I was very stubborn. And then he would have given me the grace and strength to walk through it, to then show somebody else that, listen, I know it's hard, but it can be done. And so a lot of the things that I speak about, especially on my platform, are things that best believe I would have gone through it already. So I know how hard it is. I know how difficult it can be, but I did it. And years of learning to trust God, I'm still learning to trust God. Like, I'm not perfect, but it's just understanding, failing so much at trying my way and being hurt so much. To the point now where it's like, I know what disobedience tastes like. It's not nice. And so I'm just at that point in my life where, okay, God, I've tried it this way. See, I ended up getting pregnant, I ended up getting abused, all of these things, and it never worked out. So each time, even though it's what God is calling me to do can be so unorthodox and uncomfortable, I just jump and do it anyways. And I guess that's why I'm so spontaneous and just random. Like, it's like, okay, God, this is what you want, no problem. So it's a process. It's a very ugly process. It's not cute. But the reward is amazing.
I think one of the things that we have to remind ourselves is that One, forgiveness is not for us. I'm sorry, forgiveness is not for them, it's for us. That's what who forgiveness is for. Though
Oh,
us
yeah.
being vulnerable does not mean that we are less of a person because we let someone in. Most of the times we are afraid to be vulnerable because of trust. We have trust issues. We feel that if we do share this intimate detail or secret with this person, they may tell someone else or they may look down upon us, but most times, sometimes you just want to have that one person where you can say it, like just get, because the key is to get it off the heart, get it off the chest, just
Yeah,
get it, just
that's
get it,
where it starts.
because it's
Talking.
literally choking you until you speak and let it go. It's only when you can receive your freedom. So anyone who's watching right now, if you're in that place right now where you're struggling with being vulnerable, what I'll say is try journaling. If you're
Oh,
not,
yes, I
yeah,
do that too.
yeah, if
Mhm.
you're not open yet with talking to an individual, just start to journal your thoughts. Journal to God. And he will find that it starts to open, just like how Chantaeu shared her story, but God started to tell her when and how to do it. It will happen like that for you. But you gotta let it out, because that built up is really blocking you from your next level.
Oh,
It
yeah.
really, really
Oh,
is. So you said something just now. You said um not only the situation of losing the twins, but also in dealing with abuse. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. Share a little bit on that for us.
it's abuse from many different angles. So, like I've shared, growing up, my parents were very abusive towards each other. But it was also scarring me because I had to experience all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I had to watch my mother get abused by my father, and then came a baby
Mm-hmm.
while I was holding my other sister, you know? And then I had to experience a close family member telling me that they were abused and helping them to walk through that, which scarred me too, because I'm now trying to be the person that's there, but it rips up inside of me. And then my own experience where somebody who I thought was my friend took advantage of me sexually
Wow.
in my own home
Wow.
by drugging me.
My God.
And listen, I don't know who I would be. Well, I know who I'd be without God, but I'd probably be dead. But
Mm.
the fact that I have someone, something who I can be naked with, I can be upset with, I can question and doubt, but he still loves me.
Mm-hmm.
And then each season he provides the persons that he knows would be helpful to this journey. But in the end, behind closed doors is
Yeah.
me and God. And that to me is a level of love security that nobody on
Yeah.
this earth can give me. And if I can be vulnerable with God and the
Yeah.
pages of my book,
Mm-hmm.
then I can be vulnerable with other people because he has approved me,
Yeah.
has shown me that, okay, I have approved you, you're good. And there's a way to be vulnerable too without oversharing.
That's right.
There's a way to,
Yeah. Yeah.
with sharing just enough and
Mm-hmm.
then sharing just what God wants you to share without pouring out your whole. I
Mm.
leave the pouring out my whole crevice and corners to God, you know.
Yes. Yes.
And when He says, go share it with somebody else, then I'll be like, all right, cool, no problem. But yeah, so that happened. That was another processing because I started to hate men, but God was like, you have to let it go, which was very hard. But
Mm.
I had to because I could then stand with people who have been abused and say to them, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I completely get it.
Yeah.
And it's not okay, but it's okay at the same time because you're gonna be good. Because nobody should have to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling like you're just a piece of item.
Yeah.
Nobody should have to go through that, and so to that part, it's not okay, but it's okay that you're gonna come out stronger. It's okay that you're gonna help somebody else.
Yeah.
And it's okay that that story God is going to work together for your good. and bless you in ways that you could never imagine. I am a walking testimony of these things. And so I'm glad that even through the stubbornness and all of that, I would have listened to God and just be obedient. And now I'm here, living, breathing, alive with a positive mindset that half of the things that I've been through, it feels like I didn't go through them because now it's just love. And the love that I have to give is because God gave it to me. So I can share it.
Yeah. So how old were you when your friend drugged you?
I am turning 30 in a few months. And this was about 23, 24.
Between 6 to 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And how long did it take you to get over that? Because this was not just an average friend. This was a close friend. You really trusted that person. So how long did it take for you to be able to forgive them and let it go?
Separate and apart from the abuse came with the feeling of not good enough. And I feel like that's coupled up with, because after that experience, the relationship with that person and the loss came after that. And so I feel like that in itself was probably 6 months to a year, but I feel like the extra stuff that came with it, the feeling of not being good enough, the feeling like I don't deserve love or happiness, or there's something wrong with my body. That healing, comprehensive healing, all of it was dealt with last year on my birthday. All of it. Healing is a process, and then sometimes the enemy will come and try to whisper some doubts in your ears about where you're coming from. But the beauty about it is that because I have decided to kind of hide myself in God's word and his promises, when the thoughts come, and I'm not saying that I don't have days where I just like shut down, but I know the risk of staying in that position for too long, what it can do. Because I was also depressed too. I had to isolate myself. I know the risk of that. And so I've learned to just fight against everything that my body might be feeling, to push past that. Push past the feeling, even when you don't feel like it. That little push can be the difference of the strength that you need. It's like when you start the gym, right? Because I started the gym at one point, and my body taught me that, or my mind taught me that when you really push yourself to go beyond what you're feeling, something happens in your body, like it releases this extra energy, but it's just continue going. And from that experience, I learned that I really do have a say in who I become or how I experience things. Because if while at the gym, I felt like I was dying, I felt like I couldn't go on anymore, but because I told myself, no, just one more, and I pushed, something clicked. And all of a sudden, I have the energy to move a bit more. If you could treat or experiences, whether it's getting up out of bed because you feel too depressed like that, and having God as your anchor, you can achieve a lot of things. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it is possible.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. But I want to ask, especially for those persons who are watching, why do you think that it took 4 years for you to fully be healed? I know you mentioned it's a process, but why do you think it took 4 years?
I think it took that long because there were a lot of different things compounded under all of that. It's like, let's say building a cake. And if you imagine a cake you can have so many layers. But before you get to the beautiful thing that you just want to cut and get into, You have to put the egg together, the flour together, the salt together, the flavorings and all of the niceness that you like together.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a big foundation, a big thing. Now imagine myself as a human being from I was a tender age, I've been seeing abuse. And so those experiences are the different ingredients in the cake.
Yeah.
Piling onto the cake mixture.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, because you have to grow up, you get put into the oven and you come out a whole cake. But now you're a whole cake with a lot of damage underneath all of what's looking good on the outside.
Yes.
All of what's looking appealing to everybody else, but inside there are some issues. And so I had to learn to look those issues in the eye, and that's very difficult and painful. Like I was doing this interview the other day about the bounce back, and I was sharing how you can bounce back, sure, from anything, but true bounce back, how God intends for it to be, can only happen if He's in the mix. Because you can bounce back, but you bounce back bitter, resentful, men are trash too type of vibe. You can bounce back, but all of these other things just still pile up under there. But if you really want true freeing bounce back, like the feeling that you get probably after you've just had a massage or something, or you go to the beach, you just feel free. God has to be in the mix, whether you're a Christian or not. A relationship with God is a must.
That's right. That is right. Wow. Wow. I hope you guys are taking notes. I really hope you guys are taking notes because, like she shared, I mean, it's so important that we understand that it's not an overnight thing. You know, it is a process. So don't beat yourself up if you feel like, oh, I went through deliverance and now I still feel like, no, it's a process because, yes, you get your spiritual deliverance, but then there's a physical aspect that you still have to walk yourself through. There's some things that you know have to unteach yourself. You know, there are things that you have to know, learn how to do differently. The mindset has to change because it doesn't just automatically shift. You have to become intentional now in the way that you think, the way how you do things. There's so much that goes into it. So you want to be careful and be mindful of that and just embrace the process. You know, like Chantaeu said, embrace the process and just go through that. And then you're going to get to that level where she was able to get, where she was restored. And it was just like this covering over her, knowing that, okay, everything is okay and I am okay. And you're going to be able to get to that place. I really hope you guys are feeling encouraged right now because I am encouraged by her sharing her story. But before we wrap up, I have to ask if you had advice for that one woman who is watching us right now and who is in a similar situation, you know, like you were, what would you say to her?
I would say be gentle with yourself, because I've been a Christian for 13 years. Which 13-year-old do you know that has life all together? Tell me. And if so is the case, why do you think that you who in every season you're learning something new, something different about yourself, something new about God. And the reality is that sometimes it's in the deepest hurt. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's just how life is. It's in the deepest hurt that you learn the most valuable lessons, if you want to learn, because you can go through some stuff and just don't learn.
That's true.
You just, and that's a part of deflecting too. You know, you're ignoring the parts of yourself that really need to be peeled away. But be gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself. That's probably the most important thing that you can do for you. When you look yourself in the mirror, which I had to practice looking myself in the mirror and truly loving on myself, tell myself I am beautiful, it's okay. Even if it was just getting up out of the bed, I go in the mirror and I say, girl, congrats, you made it out of the bed. Like, what?
Yes.
You made it out of your bed. All right. What do you want to do now? And then you'd be surprised what happens following that. But you have to take control and change the narrative for yourself as you go along. But start with being gentle with yourself. Tell yourself you love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Tell yourself that you matter. Tell yourself that you're cute, adorable, and all the lovey-dovey things that you would have want to hear from somebody else. If you can't tell yourself, write it down and put it in the mirror, somewhere in your bathroom, wherever there is something that you look at every day. And what will happen is that your brain will start to adjust to seeing that thing. And before you know it, you're going to be thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then before you know it, you're going to be saying it. And then you're going to be feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
So be gentle with yourself.
I love that. Great, great advice. I love that. So, Chantaeu, tell us, what are you working on? What's upcoming? You know, tell us a little bit more. I know you're also an author too as well. Tell us where we can get your book because we want it.
Oh, wow, you're prophesying over my life. I actually don't have a book, but it was just yesterday somebody was saying, you should write about your story. As a matter of fact, I just wrote an article for another magazine called Christian Liberty, where it was the first time I actually wrote about my experience in that way, because usually I'm talking. And they're like, you should put it in a book. And I think you just kind of
I will buy.
you just kind of prophesied like, girl, that's your confirmation right there. Go write that book. And I guess because I met Crystal, because I would have interviewed her on my platform from the foundation that and then since then we've just been in each other's faces. But one of the most recent things we've done in the nonprofit, we made a mini movie against child sexual abuse. One young lady shared her testimony in the form of a letter to her father, and she gave us a 3-page letter. She gave us permission to turn it into a mini movie. And God would have had it that the opportunity came up where UNICEF and JAFTA, just organizations that, you know, speak about these things, they funded us to actually create a movie, and we did. So it's on all their platforms, It's called I Was Only 12. We turned her real life testimony into a movie, highlighting child sexual abuse and encouraging persons who would have gone through that. But separate and apart from that, I mean, there are lots of speaking engagements that I see popping up, which is still feels so real and new. And I'm just working on finishing school so I can start practicing. I have only till September. I think once that's over, I feel like more will come out of me, and that way I can now use my experience of being a Christian and then the book knowledge to really help people to walk through their trauma, not just come and talk to me for a few sessions, but actually help you to go through the ugly stuff.
Yeah. Good.
So, but I'll link Crystal about writing that book because I think it's just like confirmation.
Definitely. So tell us your handles where we can follow you for more information, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Tell us where we can find you.
Okay, so it's my first and last name on all platforms, and it's Chantaeu Munroe. A bit complicated, but I don't know if you want me to spell my first name.
That's okay. We got it covered. I'll bring it up.
Okay, yeah. So you can do that. So, but it's Chantaeu Munroe on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I'm not on TikTok. I don't think I'll ever go on TikTok. But on all of those.
Good. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. We definitely enjoyed it. I know those of you who are watching right now, you would have been taking notes because you know that's my thing. Take notes. Get to come back again and rewatch this video as many times as possible. But remember, if you have not subscribed as yet, go right ahead, hit that subscribe button right below, share this video with a friend, and make sure that you leave us a comment below, because we want to hear your thoughts. We want to see you engaging with us. We really want to hear what you think about our story and anything that you have to share to as well. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much once again, Chanteau, for sharing with us. We definitely enjoyed it. And to those of you who are watching, wherever you're watching, make sure you stay safe and have fun with whatever you do. Have a great night, guys. Goodbye.